We have Zoom is just set to these, or I'm sorry, Webinar Jam, this new system is set to these 2-hour increments. So we're trying to see if we can adjust that. But in the meantime, Gene, I know you were just about to begin. So I'd love to have you come back on as a presenter. So. All right. Okay, guys. All right. So let me see. Gene, is it allowing you to jump back on as a presenter? Sorry about that. I just want to make sure we can get back on to the great Gene Belitsky, so we can go over a marketing strategy with him. So, Gene, if I'm not sure if it's going to allow you back on, but if it doesn't, if you could just text in the chat what your target audience is, what the goals are. There. Hey. Yeah, sorry about that. Just when you're about to start. Okay. So we have the great Gene Belitsky here. Gene is a world-class cinematographer, director, and photographer. I've been fortunate enough to coach Gene and work with him over the last couple of years. We've done some great strategy calls and stuff, and he's brilliant. I mean, he's got incredible work, beautiful work. And also, I've been really impressed, Gene, with the kind of content that you've been able to produce since we started working together, because you've started kind of taking it up a notch with some of the content, some of the quality and everything. And I really love it, the production and everything. So, Gene, why don't you tell me a little bit about what your ideal target clients are, like who they are, and if you know who the decision makers are that you're trying to reach at those for those clients. Okay, well, let's get to that. So let's name them all. Which brands? So you mentioned Gucci, Chanel, and which others? Got it. Got it. Okay. What? Okay. So Gucci, Chanel, Dior. Anyone else? Right. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Um, okay. Okay. Great. So K Jewelries, any other brands? Any specific ones that you like? Well, I mean, okay. I mean, that's broad though. It's like saying, yeah, I want to shoot for all fashion companies. I want to shoot for all jewelry companies. I want to shoot for all, I mean, that's great. But do you have any specific brands that you want to shoot for? Do you want to shoot for like Tiffany? Do you want to shoot for, I mean, like, but which ones? Like, just name some because I want to be very specific about this. Hmm. Okay. So K Jewelry. Okay. Cool. And what are the budgets for the K Jewelry campaign? Okay. Okay, so 500,000, and that's for the like a commercial or like a video commercial? Or got it. Okay. Yep, and that's pretty standard, $500,000 budget to do something like that. That's a good budget, but that's pretty standard with these. And you've in the past worked as their DP or director or what? Okay. Well, that's great. So Gene, you've got these great brands, and you seem to know, who you want to work with, and you kind of know some of these details. Well, what is the goal then? Is it to land the entire production? Would you like to land that $500,000 shoot for K Jewelers? Got it. Okay. So why haven't you? Okay. Hmm. Okay. And so how come you're not marketing? Okay. Okay. Okay, that's good. It's good to have a helper for sure. So sure. Well, that's why you're on right now, man. That's what you're here for. I love it. Exactly. That's fun. Fabulous. I'm really glad you're here. So, okay. So, if K Jewelers, now, do you know anything about K Jewelers? Do you know their decision makers? Do you know who to contact? Okay. And who are they? Who are the people? Who are the key decision makers you have to contact? The creative agency. So they have an agency. Okay. So which agency is it? Okay. Okay. All good. So, I while you're speaking about it, I already found it. So I pulled it up, and as far as it looks like they're with Zimmerman Ad Agency, and that's a major ad agency. A big one. It's out of Florida, actually. So, uh, if I here, I'll show you. So I first I pulled up. I mean, we're not 100% sure on accuracy here, but this is what I did. Find with I looked up K Jewelers and I looked up the advertising agency that K Jewelers works with, and K Jewelers has a like a parent company. So it's Signet, but essentially I looked them up and I found Zimmerman. Okay, so Zimmerman is the agency. Now, this is a pretty big agency, and Zimmerman is actually based all over the United States. So there's I think they have other offices, from what I understand, but this location has happens to have the retail and department store stuff, and they're working with uh, K Jewelers. Okay, so if you want to work doing their commercials, right? We need contact these decision makers. So I would, whoever you know already, I would get in touch with them for sure and find out. Do you know which person it is? Is it one of these? Do you know their name? Okay, great, great. I would look that up and find out who that person is. Um, but the question I have though is the person's name, is it the production company or is it the agency? It is the agency. Okay. So yeah, make sure it's the agency and find out who it is. But and how when was the last time you worked with them? Oh, okay. So not too long ago. So it's probably the person still there. So I would find out who that is. I'd look it up. Okay. But anyway, so what I did is I got on. Are you on Agency Access, by the way? Not yet. Yeah. So I pulled this up. I was able to quickly find all these decision makers. Now, the person that was on that production with the agency may or may not be the decision maker, though. So it might be some other executive that is making the decisions, but it's still important to know that person. But I would definitely say this Blanca Boccato is probably a major deciding person. Is everyone? We also need to know which person in the agency handles K Jewelers because, of course, they have a whole bunch of accounts, right? So they're dealing with oh yeah, here we go, K Jewelers, right? So I found it. Found it. Yeah. So double confirmed. But they also have JetBlue, Chuck E. Cheese, McDonald's, Nissan, right? So big major agency, right? McDonald's, geez. So some of these creative producers are working on McDonald's, and some of them are working on JetBlue, and some of them are working on K Jewelers. So we need to find out who works on K Jewelers. So um, so what I would do is, I would contact these people, and I would contact all these creative directors and producers, not the designer, but all these other people, and I would start an email marketing campaign. I would also add them all to LinkedIn. I would also message them, and this would be a good method to find because basically what we're trying to achieve, Gene, is we're trying to find out who is the decision maker at this agency that specifically works with K Jewelers, right? So I would message all of these people on LinkedIn and I would email them and I would personally email them and I would ask them, I would say a really nice, sweet message, to these people. I would say, I would introduce yourself to Blanca and I would just be like, hey, Blanca, your latest campaigns for K are absolutely amazing. I'm a director producer of or director cinematographer, whatever you want to call yourself, or I have a production company that handles jewelry and fashion, and I think that I would love for you to check out my work. Are you do you handle K? Something like that. So I would say, since they only have one TV producer, she probably does. But I would, ask her that question. So I'd message her and find that out. Also, executive TV producer Richard Nez. So it's going to be one of those two people are working on the video side. And then of course we have creative directors and group creative directors. I would ask them too. And then you can find out like which creative directors are working on which brands, and then we can start really hyper focusing on that person. So okay, we find out it's Blanca. Fantastic. Great. Okay. Now she might respond, oh yeah, like I just did the K, or she might say, no, I didn't do K. That was my colleague, Richard Nez. So now we got to contact Richard and be like, oh, that's it. And then what I would do is start contacting Richard, and I would say, I would contact Richard and say, hey, Richard, Bianca or Blanca mentioned I should speak to you. You see what I'm doing here? So now you have this warm intro. So now she's like, all right, like the chances, do you think that he'll probably be more likely, Blanca's recommendation would be to speak to Richard, he's probably gonna be more likely to talk to you now. So even if you don't know them, because you don't really know Blanca, but she said, oh, no, I don't do it, but Richard, you would say, oh, well, she recommended you. Because she did. And then I would say, hey, what's up, Richard? And then you could even mention like, oh yeah, like I did, I was on this project or that project. Oh, really? Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, yeah. And be like, yeah, but like check out this latest stuff that I just did and share it with them. So that would be my strategy. Well, at this stage, you need to get them interested in you. We're still talking about marketing, right? So now closing the deal and booking them is a whole different thing. But you just need to, I mean, we're just at the stage of getting them interested. Now, if he's interested and you send him a reel, and you're like, and Richard's like, oh yeah, your work's amazing, Gene. Then you can, I would probably do what you can to go in person and meet him, and where do you live, Gene? Okay, great. Well, it looks like they're in Fort Lauderdale, so come to Miami, um, and meet them. See if you can meet them in person. And actually, what a lot of our photographers do and directors that I work with they get involved and they do say the Miami Beach photographic workshop, and they shoot all this epic content, and then they go and they meet with all the agencies there, or they go to do the New York fashion experience, and then they go and they meet with the agencies there, like before or after the workshop. And I always recommend that. That way you're in town, you get to kill two birds with one stone, you're building this epic reel, and you're meeting with agents, which I think is really valuable. Or at our Elite Masterclass in LA, we'll bring in 5 of some of the biggest decision makers in the industry to talk. So that would be a suggestion. Now, Richard is, I would start finding out everything you can about this Richard Nez guy. And, if he's the guy, because you're trying to get in touch with Kay Jewelers. And if he's handling Kay Jewelers, then we need to find out about who this guy is, so we're going to obviously speak to them. I would also start kind of like looking him up everywhere on LinkedIn, get to know him. Maybe also like a lot of these guys that are producers and creative directors and stuff, they also probably have their own personal work. And if they have their own personal work, then like you should talk to them about that, because that's going to make them like you more. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like these people don't do something creative. Like obviously they do, because they're in the industry. Otherwise they probably would be a different, if they're an accountant, they're not going to be, interested, but these people are in the industry as like a creative director or a producer. So they're in the industry. So they probably have something that they've worked on or want to work on. If they're a TV producer, they're probably wanting to work on feature films or TV shows or whatever. So they have, maybe they have something that they're working on or whatever. If they're a creative director, they're probably artists, or, maybe they have some sort of creative stuff themselves. So it could be a lot of things. But I would say, let's figure it out. So for instance, one way to do that is let's look and take a look at where he is. Who is this guy? So let's look him up on LinkedIn. Okay, so I just looked him up on LinkedIn, and here he is, right? So he's at Zimmerman Advertising. He's EVP. Let's connect. Can add a note. Let's add a note. You know, hey Richard, love your latest work on, or I'll just say with Zimmerman on the K campaign. What are you currently shooting? Something like that. Oh, I reached my limit. That makes sense because I message people all the time. So this is what I'm talking about, right? So it's because I reached the limit, right? This is why I switch over to Sales Navigator, right? So I can go into Sales Navigator and let's see if I can find Richard Nez here. And I can say something like, you know, the same thing. So, you know, hey, Richard, you know what I mean? So I'm basically like, I can write the same message and send it on there because I have Sales Navigator. That's why I use Sales Navigator, by the way. That's a good example. So, so anyway, so when I connect with Richard, right, and I now am his connection, we can also look him up. And usually on other platforms like social media and stuff, they have more information about these people too, right? So we can look up stuff about him, some of his past experience, what he does. Sometimes if they have a personal website, you know, so you know, we want to really profile these people because this is the guy that would be hiring you, right? So I'm looking him up on LinkedIn. And we've got, yeah, he's EVP, Director of Integrated Production, Executive Producer. He's been there for 23 years. So he's like the guy. He's not going anywhere. That's also good. And what's that? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely. Looks like he went to University of Miami. Um, yeah. And look how big this agency is, by the way. Zimmerman's, they're on LinkedIn. There's 631 employees just on LinkedIn from Zimmerman. So yeah, it's a huge agency, right? They're doing McDonald's. I mean, come on, massive. Okay, so now this to me shows like I don't see a whole lot of personal stuff about him, but if there is a lot of times, like especially if he was a creative director, they probably would have a lot of personal information. But still, it's useful, right? And you know, maybe look him up on Instagram, Facebook, and try to find out as much information so that you can customize your messaging to him. So I mean, you can do that too, but like, there's nothing that's going to hurt you by going after big fish too, because they're not going to respond to you right away. But I would say like go after. I mean, you just told me K Jewelers is who you want to work with, so let's work with K Jewelers. Yeah, so, Dean, we're not getting any younger here. Okay, like we got to do this or not do this. But I don't want to like, oh, you know, they're too big for me, too big fish. That's BS. I think you need to do. I think you should do both. I think you should go after the big fish. Meanwhile, go after the little fish along the way. So I think that you know, if this is the brand you want to work with, then yeah, like go after them right now. I think especially, I mean, we're talking K Jewelers. We're not talking Gucci, right? It's very different. You know, it's a very very different type of thing. I think you're. I think right now, like you're capable of getting a K Jeweler campaign. But if you want to really clinch the deal, then I would make sure that we add more to your reel. I really do. I think that your reel is good, but I think making it stronger and more cohesive and creating stuff. And I would even like, for instance, I have a really great photographer who's actually going to be watching this workshop here, named Scott Goodwin, who has he's a jewelry photographer. That's what he does, and his work's amazing. And Scott, he specifically took the workshop to incorporate like fashion and lifestyle into his jewelry stuff. And you know, and I think it's great because Scott Goodwin, he's a great photographer here. He's a jewelry guy, and he also can do video, but he creates this great content, and but he came to the workshop so that he can also incorporate jewelry into like scenes with people, which I think was really cool. So, kind of elevating that kind of content. Also, fragrance, doing fragrance, I think is also fabulous. So, kind of mixing it together. So, what we did with him was like if he's trying to do jewelry, we would do either up close scenes with jewelry or scenes incorporating jewelry on like every single set. So that way everything he gets at the workshop is specifically for him, whether it's video or photographic stuff with jewelry in some way, shape, or form. But that way he's got content that's relevant to those brands. So I would recommend that. So now obviously I do recommend you come to one of these experiences and shoot mind-blowing video content and photographic content, the ads, and create that reel that you could send to Kay. Or if you do it on your own and produce it, that's fine. But making sure that it's like really, really, really high end and expansive. It's not just a one-off shoot. It's not less like this one fashion shoot in the desert or something. It's like a very expansive. I mean, that's why what we do is we have 5 different days of production. So each day is a whole different production, massive scale. And it's insane. And that way you get this 40 image cohesive body of work kind of thing. But anyway, regardless of how you do it, Gene, you're a great cinematographer, director. You obviously know what you're doing. I would get that reel really clean and I would get it refined for jewelry as well. I would do fragrance too. I think jewelry and fragrance. I think yeah, and I think that it's very obtainable, but it has to be epic. It has to be epic because those guys are good. Those guys are competition, right? So this is a photographer I work with, and he's come to. He just came to the last 2 workshops actually with me, I believe, and he's an incredible guy. Creates mind-blowing content, but he and also won the awards. He won in the top 10 fashion photographer of the year award, which is also pretty cool. But he just from the images he shot at the workshop. But I think that this is a good example of like, hey, if you're going after Kay, a guy like this is going to land it over you because he has content that's relevant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's possible, or maybe he shot for one of the other brands that at the agency too. That's also happens if like he shot for say a different brand that Zimmerman represents, and then they liked him, and then they said, "Oh, well, we can also have you on K." That could have also happened because it's somebody they knew. But more times than not, in my experience, they're looking for something specific, and I also imagine that that director might have shown them something specific that is related. They generally wouldn't hire somebody or even consider somebody that has stuff completely unrelated to what they're doing. Sure. Yeah. Can you put it in the chat, please? That'd be super helpful. Yeah. And is he getting? And this was 6 months ago. Then he shot for them. Okay, great, perfect. Thank you. And this is good because now we get to see like what that brand wants because obviously they're they're going to have an aesthetic, and if they hired this guy because that's what they're looking for, then that's fantastic. We now know um, what the aesthetic is. Okay, and do you know, is the campaign available to see like what they shot or what you guys shot? Mm, yeah, I mean, he probably has, he has so many commercials. I'm sure he's shown them something that is interesting, and he's done Super Bowl commercials with yeah, basically Tyrion Lannister. We have and and if you're basically a top director that's shooting with celebrities all the time, and you've got extensive stuff like this, you have a little bit more leeway. Um, because they're going to be going after these really famous directors. I mean, that there's a big advantage there. But he has a lot of stuff that I can see can relate. I mean, it's all has people in it. There is a lot of stuff that has people and jewelry in it. They just happen to be celebrities. So I mean, it's kind of I can see why they chose them. Did they incorporate models, actresses, or celebrities in the K Jewelers campaign? Was it celebrities or was it
Unstoppable
models?
Love. Exclusively.
Hmm. Right. Right. Got it. Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Got it. Sure. Sure. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's great. So you're saying that like your question is how do I compete with this guy? Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've got a lot of work to do, buddy. You got a lot of work to do, Gene. So first of all, this guy's got a lot of different commercials that he has done that are really famous, big commercials, and a lot of big celebrities. So that's a huge advantage he has over you. But I would say, when I go to your website and brand, you've got some cool stuff, but it's also a bit more limited. And I would say, like, if you can create more content, I mean, I think you really need to create more content. You need to have more stuff that's really world class. That's going to wow and dazzle these brands. So I mean, I think to go after and land them, I still think you're definitely able to do it. The other thing too is that remember these brands, yes, they do these two or three big ones, and maybe they have a massive budget for him, but they might also have a slightly smaller budget that he might not be willing to take. And maybe for this other project that they do, maybe it's $100,000 budget or $200,000 budget, and maybe Nabil is not open to doing that, and they're going to hire somebody like you to land the smaller campaigns. That happens a lot. Yeah. So I mean, I think that you need more content. I think you need more really world class high end content that you directed, not stuff that you're just the camera op or hired in guy. You need to be the director, and otherwise it's misleading. So you got to have unbelievable stuff, and you've got to be able to. And I would make it very very specific to what you're going for, and I would incorporate jewelry. I mean, unless you're super famous director like this guy that's working with all the big celebrities and stuff, it's going to be a little harder, and you're going to have more success if you have relevant stuff to jewelry. Generally, especially through ad agencies, they're looking for things that are very specific, meaning like they want to see somebody that does shoot jewelry most of the time. That's the case, unless you're obviously somebody famous, right? Like if I'm sure that if even a brand like Kay Jewelers, maybe Annie Leibovitz is not known as the biggest jewelry photographer, but like if they could get Annie Leibovitz, they would because she's really well known, right? It's like that's kind of how it is. But okay, so I would definitely get in touch with these people, the ones that we just identified. I literally just identified all these decision makers in agency access. We should call them. We should email them. We should Instagram them, Facebook message them, LinkedIn message them, and then show them your content and then follow up with them. And your end goal would be to meet with them if you could in person and or Zoom call with them. Yeah. Yeah. But you should be, I know you mentioned you're not doing a whole lot of marketing. Are you or your friend or relative that you mentioned is going to be helping them? Are they going to be willing to do the phone calls and the reach outs and all the marketing stuff with you? Okay. And how are you with the phone calls? Are you open to doing that for yourself? Well, you don't have to be good at it. You just need to do it. I mean, I think that regardless of how good you are at it, you just got to do it. I think that, does it intimidate you? Is it like kind of hard for you to do? Mhm. Sure. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I think that getting somebody to make the calls and then maybe set up a meeting with you and them, and then that way, when you can actually have a meeting with them, then you can, because they do need to get to know you. I mean, this is the creative industry. They're not going to hire you without getting to know you. They're not going to hire you without meeting you, probably having a Zoom call or meeting you in person. And otherwise, it's very unlikely they would ever, when they're going to trust you with $500,000, they're going to want to meet with you. So there's a lot of different ways of doing this. I would post some ads. I would hire somebody. I would use either Indeed or Upwork, Guru.com. Those are all excellent ways of finding people. I also use Upwork, Guru, and Fiverr to hire people to do marketing stuff, to do graphic design, video editing, retouching, Instagram DMs, like all kinds of things. I mean, I personally, if you look at my back end of my Upwork account, I've spent over $400,000 on hiring people. So I spend a lot of money on hiring people to do stuff for me on Upwork, and it's short term. And what I love about Upwork is that like you don't pay them until you're satisfied. So, like for instance, if you hired somebody to do video editing for you or whatever, which you probably do your own, but if you got slammed and you need somebody to do it for you, you give them the project, the parameters, you hire somebody, and if they don't do it how you want and you're not happy with it, you don't pay them anything, which is great. If it's you can also set up a project like, hey, call so many art buyers and creative directors at an agency for me, make so many phone calls. If you do it, you get paid this. That'd be one way to do it. Or if you want to pay them an hourly rate. And then if it's hourly, what's great about that is you could actually track it. They have a tracker where you can track it through Upwork and you can find out how many hours they've been working and you can see what's on their screen. So if you're using like say a dialer, which I recommend, you can get that through using a CRM like Salesforce or something. You can track it. You can track the phone calls. There's Twilio. There's a lot of these different services. And then you can have everything tracked through Upwork and you can see the screen as you go so you can monitor them. What do you mean? Yeah. Yeah, no, they do everything though. They do everything, and then if you're concerned about it, about that aspect, then I mean, you first of all you interview them, right? I mean, you screen them. What I like to do is there's ways where they can send a recording of a pitch, and I do this on Indeed as well. Posting because Indeed or Monster are great ways to find people to do this too. But I would oftentimes have them record them pitching like their voice. So before you even interview them, you know what they sound like. Mhm. Obviously you get what you pay for. So depends. Are you gonna if you're gonna hire them full time on a salary? If you're gonna, I mean, I personally would recommend maybe some sort of hourly rate plus like a bonus based upon how many meetings they set up. So whatever you feel comfortable with the hourly rate. I mean, it could be anywhere, and it depends on where they're from. If they're from a different country, it'd be less. If it's from the United States, you pay them more, but you're also going to have a US accent, which I would recommend. So, an hourly rate plus a bonus for how many meetings they set up, or maybe a bonus for how many end up booking too. Maybe you give them a percentage or something of the job. Sure. I would say this is more of like an appointment setter type of role. So it's more of there's different levels of salespeople, and appointment setters are kind of a lower level, so you don't have to pay them as much as you would say a sales director, which is more on the higher end. Sales director, you're looking at 200,000 a year. Maybe a sales consultant, anywhere from 80,000 to 120,000 a year. If it's maybe a appointment setter, it can be anywhere from, if it's in the United States, anywhere from like say 40,000 to 60,000 a year. Or you could set something a smaller amount, maybe a smaller base plus a commission structure. So it's up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. But just make sure they're good, so they're not wasting your leads and wasting your time. You're just gonna have to screen them. But this takes works, guys. I mean, the thing is like a lot of these photographers that I work with and directors and stuff, they're lazy. They're just lazy. And if you think that like you're just like gonna get booked because you're good at what you do, that's not reality. It takes a lot of hard work to get there. It takes a lot of hustle. It takes a lot of going after this stuff, and it takes a lot of sales and marketing to get there. It's a lot of. Well, I would say appointment setter. I mean, I would say appointment setter because that's what it is. It's an appointment setter. So this is, like I said, there's a lower level position. You don't have to pay them as much because it's a little lower level, and they're not actually closing any deals for you. They're just calling up agents, setting up appointments. Yeah. Well, I would pay them a base salary plus, or hourly or salary plus a commission based upon how many they set up. Yeah, that's what I would do. But this is a process, and you got to monitor them, and you're going to have meetings with them constantly. I mean, I would meet with them every day. I would be talking to them throughout the day. This is what it takes, and I think that you just remember that. I mean, this is going to take a lot of energy on your part, a lot of time. If you don't want to make the phone calls, you're going to need to really be all over the person that does, because otherwise they just are going to burn your money and they're not going to get anything done. Mhm. Oh, and what does it come from? What is your main like career that where you make your bread and butter? Okay, okay. So it's not. I mean, it's still in the industry though. Yeah. Well, I think that, I mean, this is great, Gene. I mean, you're already in the industry. It's not like you're working as an accountant and you're trying to break into this. You're already in the industry. You're doing it, and you're great, and you're really great at it. You really are. I'm impressed. I mean, I've always liked you. I've always found you, impressive stuff. But I agree with you. Your reel isn't where it needs to be, even though it is good, but it needs to be better, and you need to be more, especially if you're going after these big clients. If you're trying to go after Gucci and Chanel and Dior, we need to take it up a notch because the directors and the photographers are hiring and shooting for Gucci, Dior. I mean, they're going after Marcus. You're going after the best in the industry, so you've got to keep stepping it up. You've got to keep stepping it up at the highest level if you want to be at the highest level. But you can do it. You just got to hustle though, and you got to put the investment in. You got to invest every dollar you have into your brand, into your marketing, and into everything I've been talking about. suggesting, whether it's getting involved. And I strongly recommend getting involved. Some of our in-person experiences coming up in this coming year. I also strongly recommend you doing all these marketing strategies that I'm talking about and investing tremendous amount in reaching out, because that's what's going to get you. Otherwise, if you don't, nothing's going to happen, and you're going to keep doing what you're doing, and you're going to be stuck. And that's what happens. I mean, a lot of photographers and directors, they get, they're scared of making the progress. They're scared of investing in themselves. And if that's the case, they're not going to go anywhere. They're going to be still stuck. And you want to be like these guys, Mert Alice and Marcus Pickett. I mean, they're shooting the biggest campaigns in the world, and they're at the top of the industry. They're shooting Versace, they're shooting Gucci, they're shooting Stella McCartney. Like, that's where you want to be. You want to be here. Yeah, but the thing is like, you got to hustle to get there. I mean, it is not just like overnight by those guys. I mean, they put in the work. So if you want to put in the work, like, you got to do it. You got to take it up a notch, and you can't be just hoping it's going to work. It's because it's not going to. It's unless you actually put the action in. So you got it what it takes, though. Honestly, Gene, I really do think so. I really think you have what it takes. I think you even have a similar aesthetic to this. You really do. It's similar aesthetic and taste. You're a likable guy. You've got great work. You just need to take it up a notch so that with the brand as well as the marketing, so that you can land it. And it's going to take some effort, though. I'm just going to tell you, it's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and a lot of resources, but you're capable of it. And I think that incorporating a lot of these ideas will totally change everything. So I think that anyway, we've gone pretty in depth about what we can do for Gene to help him take it to the next level. Thank you so much for coming on, Gene. Let's incorporate this, and I want to follow up with you about this as well. I'm going to be flying to the Maldives to film for my TV show coming up. So I fly out in a few days, but when I return, I'd love to, to follow up with you, you and my team, to kind of go over everything that you've implemented from today onward, because I want to see action, though, Gene. I want to see action. I want to see it take a notch. And I'm excited. I'm excited. But thank you so much for jumping on. And I want to bring on the next panelist, but we'll keep in touch. I love it. All right. Absolutely. Okay. Well, how about that, guys? I love having Absolutely. Okay. Well, how about that, guys? I love having guys like Gene come on, because he's a world-class director. And I'm really impressed at that kind of stuff. That's freaking awesome. All right. So I have I'd like to bring on another panelist here, and let's see if I can have you guys. Sebastian, if you let's see here. I want to add you as a presenter. So I'll be able to have you jump on. If you could just message me in the chat. That'd be fantastic. And also, those of you guys who want me to go through their content next, I would love it if you guys could message your websites again in the chat. I know some of you guys did earlier, but please do, so that I can go back through those, and we can go and develop kind of some marketing strategies specifically for you. All right. Okay, so Sebastian, I'm adding on as a panelist. Now, I'm going to introduce you to the great Sebastian Percy. He's an amazing guy. He's actually my marketing director. And he is, I think, an amazing marketing expert. That's all he does. He's a marketing master, and he's been working in the industry for a long time. He's done marketing for major banks, major corporations. and he's also my personal marketing director for my brands. So this is really exciting to have him on and actually speak to you guys, because I think marketing is such a valuable thing, and if you guys don't know any marketing directors, it's going to be great to hear from somebody from the horse's mouth here, from an actual marketing director, about some strategies. So, Sebastian, welcome to this epic advanced marketing for photographers workshop. Why don't you tell us a little bit about maybe about yourself and what you feel is an effective strategy that you would suggest to the photographers on here that would want to get themselves more known, get themselves more opportunity. And let me preface this by we've been talking a lot about commercial photography, right? We've been talking a lot about these beautiful, wanting to shoot for Versace and stuff like that. But Sebastian, we have a lot of photographers that also want to shoot portraits, that also like to shoot wedding photography. So it's more consumer based. Do you have any good ideas and strategies? Tell me, and first I want you to tell us about yourself first, but then I want you to tell us a little bit about the strategies that you would suggest to a photographer that maybe wants to create an attraction magnet to clients that would want to hire them to shoot their portraits or weddings. So more consumer based.
Right. So first off, thank you for having me on, Kevin. Regarding myself, I've always just had the experience within marketing, sales. I've led marketing campaigns for large corporations such as Verizon, Nestle Water, Inspire. But I've also been able to build up my own personal brand where I've gotten the opportunity to become a content creator for BuzzFeed. And, through that led me to just being able to jump into the startup space as well, where I got to build up my own personal brand, my own startup in Apollo Music, where we got the chance to build up a community of about 10,000 users. And this was extremely focused within the music space, both between music managers, DJs, musicians. And, when it comes to just being able to build your brand and just properly market yourself today, a lot of people tend to overlook how much you have to show yourself. We live in a time today where just post TikTok era, we're always on to the next thing. People don't have the same level of attention spans as we did a couple of years ago, and when we succumb to so much dopamine on a consistent basis, we need to make sure that we're consistently putting out content. So what are we doing to ensure that we're actually showing that we exist? Because Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, these platforms, they're not going anywhere, and everyone's on them. And all the people that you want to connect with, whether we're talking about potential clients or prospects, or even just ideal people that you want to build valuable relationships with, they need to see you. So we need to make sure that we're consistently putting out content. And Kevin makes a great point. He always talks about having a 40 image quality work of art. But beyond that, what are you doing to sell yourself? And I think that's something that a lot of people tend to overlook. What are you doing to show that you're actually human? Are you actually putting out behind the scene content? Are you leveraging your expertise, showing that, hey, listen, I've been in this business for well over 10, 15 years. I've worked with these major brands. Let me show you my process. Let me show you as to why I'm qualified. And, there's a lot of great value that comes with reaching out to people on platforms like LinkedIn or email or even direct phone call. But at the same time, we want to show that, listen, you want to work with me, because there's going to be plenty of people that message and reach out to those people on a consistent basis as well. But what's going to leverage you that's going to make you more ideal to work with that person? And that's why Kevin gets the opportunities that he gets, because he's putting out content that helps differentiate himself. There's plenty of photographers that work advertisement campaigns. There's plenty of photographers that get the opportunity to work with major campaigns such as Gucci, Versace. But at the same time, there's not many photographers that have their own TV show. There's not many photographers that have their own photography workshop series. And so photographers, you got to really think about this, right? What am I doing? What am I doing on my day-to-day life that I can leverage to help me stand out from the crowd? And just really think about that and just write it down, take notes, really figure out who your ideal client is, really figure out your competition, figure out who inspires you, and just create a strategy around that, and just consistently create content. And don't be afraid to create content. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because you'd be surprised as to how many people aren't doing it. But you need to do that.
Absolutely. Okay. And what would be a great strategy, do you think, specifically to get themselves out there for, say, the consumer industry, for obtaining portraits and weddings? What would be your idea for a portrait and wedding photographer for the consumer market to really create an attraction magnet that's going to get them in, people like all over them wanting to book them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So before we even go about putting out the content, we need to understand the market. So just really understanding the current trends that are out there, understanding the leading people, but also the people that are also working towards just getting to that same level as well. But once you're able to have an understanding of that, your target customer and your audience, just content wise, what you should really do is really focus on just creating behind the scenes content. Also just kind of showing just the process of you putting together just that level of content. If you're shooting for a wedding, or if you're recording it, or anything that can just show that process, the thing about it with content, there's no right or wrong form of content. I think we all have this idea that in order for things to work out, it has to be a certain way, but that's not true. As long as you're putting something out there that you believe is quality and you believe applies to who you are, I think that's the most important part. And just through consistency and just doing it enough times, you're going to be able to find your crowd. But you just have to do it consistently. I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, Sebastian, it's funny you mentioned that, because this guidance that he's giving you guys is actually something he tells me all the time. He's like, Kevin, just show everybody what you're doing all the time. You do all these crazy things. Like you're filming a TV show in the Maldives. You're going to be, whether you're riding camels in the desert, playing camel polo in the desert in Abu Dhabi, or you're jumping out of an airplane over Bora Bora, or you're doing a fashion shoot in New York where you've got owls, and the owl flies off and lands out on the top of this huge equestrian stable, or what are you doing right now? Why aren't you showing that? You're at the castle, you're at your 49-room castle in France. Why aren't you showcasing the fabulous palace with these gold chandeliers and 24 karat gold, or these amazing laneways, or the castle turning bright red, like all these, because right now the leaves have changed. So the whole castle is covered in like red vines right now, which is amazing. So why are you not doing that right now? And to be honest, it's something that I have this, I think, a personal challenge with, like, I know I talk a lot about it, like this stuff, but I don't know. It's always been harder for me to show off my stuff. I know that sounds funny, but I've always been so focused on my work instead of myself. So it's always like, hey, I want to show my final, curated photography that's beautifully retouched and color corrected and amazing. And I want to be judged on that. I don't want it to be about myself. And I don't know, maybe it's my generation where, I can't stand that whole hey, let me take a selfie about what I'm eating. And, it's all about me. It's all about me. But Sebastian has coached me to be like, you know what, Kevin, people are interested in what's going on in your life. And they want to see the snippets of behind the scenes and what's really going on, not just I'm only going to show this curated content. So Sebastian, I love that, because you've been guiding me on that, and I'm trying to change. I'm trying to adapt, because I do need to show this stuff, because you're right. This is stuff that people do want to see, and it adds value to my brand, regardless if it is about my content or if it's about me.
Right. No, and I think that's great. And I've definitely been seeing you making the changes, Kevin. And I think that's amazing, because, at the end of the day, despite just how much technology and just AI and all these advancements happen and how much the world changes, at the end of the day, we live in a world that's inhabited by humans, and as humans and as people, we want to be able to connect with each other, so in order for us to best connect, it's great to see, oh, hey, this is Kevin Michael Smits. He owns a castle. He worked with all these major brands, but can I actually relate with this person? Can I actually connect with this person? And when you actually just, open the curtain and you're actually able to show us to, this is what I do. I'm actually human. I buy Starbucks. My favorite food is pepperoni pizza. I'm actually human like you, and I like to do all this cool stuff as well. people are going to want to work with you. People are going to want to build those relationships. And I think that's going to be really ideal, especially if you want to find long-term clients. This is something that me and Kevin, we talk about all the time. It's just not about just finding a client, but you want to find your ideal client. Those clients that are going to return to you, those people that are going to work with you 5, 10, 15 years down the line. Because I mean, it's exhausting. You don't want to consistently look for new clients, always trying to form these relationships and all these things. It's great to do that, but at the same time, you want a consistent base of people that are reliable, people that you can grow with. And I think that's what we need to really work towards, because it's going to be more competitive than ever. I mean, there's going to be more people jumping into photography. There's always going to be someone that brings it to the next level. But we need to make sure that we actually attend to that base. We need to make sure that we actually do and set the foundation in place that we can actually have our own tribe, our own colony. And I think that's what's really important, especially nowadays.
So what you're saying, Sebastian, it's more about a personal brand as
Right.
opposed to just your photographic brand. And I'm really glad you brought this up, because, I've known about this a long time, and I have developed my personal brand of who I am. And I'm trying to obviously focus on, continuing to grow it and refine it and to put it out there. But I think that a lot of photographers don't see themselves as the brand. They want the photography to be the brand only. But I think you're right. In this day and age, you've got to be a personal brand. That's what people are hiring for. That's what people want. They want not just your final refined content. They want a personal brand. And this has become kind of the new hot thing. And hiring a photographer, not just because of the final content that they do, but who they are behind the lens.
Right.
And that's a big part of it, because social media is so important, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or Twitter. A lot of brands want you to not only photograph and film their campaign, they want you to post about it. They want to showcase it. So your personal brand goes a long way. And I'm actually doing that while I'm in the Maldives, flying there in a few days. And I part of the whole process of filming there, I'm actually contractually obligated to also showcase to the world these amazing brands, these incredible, like 5 to 7 star resorts, and all the incredible stuff there. And my experience is there. So they want me not only to film for the resort, but I also have to showcase it. So you are also, you guys, influencers. You're influencers, and you got to realize that. You have to kind of craft your mind around that. So when it comes to really, I would say, mastering your marketing, do you have any tips and strategies, Sebastian, about because I know I've talked a little bit about consistency and tenacity and hard work and things like that. Have you been able to come across any great AI tools that could really help with some of the, there's a lot of monotonous tasks. Can you talk about any of that?
Yeah. So one great platform you brought up was Constantly Contact. I think that's a great platform, especially if you do plan on posting, sending out email blasts. But in terms of it's very easy to get overwhelmed with just, posting content on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And I know a lot of people, they don't want to have to log into all those different accounts, adjust the content just for that specific account, and then worry about if I'm posting it at the right times. So there's a few different platforms that I've personally been using. One platform I would definitely suggest is Metricool. So Metricool is an amazing platform if you want to be able to manage the content that you post. And the great thing about it is that you're actually able to schedule that content as well. So it's kind of just a single platform that you're able to connect all your social media platforms to. So whether you have an Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, any piece of content you want to put out, whether it's a video or photo, essentially you just upload the video or photo, you come up with the caption or text, and then you're able to schedule when that's posted. So I find it to be a great tool, especially if you create a system for yourself where you're able to schedule what type of content you're creating and when you want it to be posted. You definitely don't want to be thinking about it, and you want to make sure that you have these systems in place.
This is the correct one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
And what's great about it is that there is a free version if you do want to try it out. So all you have to do is just create an account and log in. And once you do that, you're able to just connect your social media profile pages. But if you do want to upgrade it and you want to be able to scale things, you can also do that as well. It's super affordable. I believe it's only about $25, $30 a month. But there's a lot of functionality behind it. And I'm just kind of going along with it. Besides just posting the content, create some sort of content schedule. You know, you want to make sure you're organized when you're actually posting the content. You know, you don't want to say, okay, I'm going to post on Monday, and then next time I post, it's going to be 2 weeks later with no actual plan. Every single time you post, some of it, I mean, it could just be a spur of the moment, but at the same time, you know, just try to have some sort of purpose or some sort of intent with it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Purpose and intent is really vital. You mentioned, and you're great at social media, so I love that. And incorporating all these together, how would this benefit an everyday photographer using Metricool to really kind of like take them up a notch and make it simple for all of them? Is it just about like keeping all the social platforms together so that one basically do one post and post it everywhere? Is that the kind of methodology behind this?
Yeah, so I think what's great about it is that one, I mean, you're able to centralize everything. Two, since everything's on one platform, you're not going to be overwhelmed, which I think is really good because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You know, if as soon as you feel overwhelmed, especially as a creator, and guys, like I do have some experience within photography, but you know, I am a content creator. I'm also within the marketing space. You know, I've also been within the music space for a very long time. And I understand how it feels to be overwhelmed as a creative. And as soon as you get overwhelmed, it's very easy to end up in some sort of a, you know, analysis paralysis, or you feel stuck. So when you kind of have a system like this or a platform like this that allows for you to be efficient with your time and manage your time properly, it helps you out so much more. You know, you want to make sure you have the right tools in place where you're not necessarily wasting time, but just makes your life more easier and just allows for you to be more productive.
Definitely. Yeah. Efficiency is really important. And I think that, you know, just to maximize our time, you know, because our time is so valuable, right? We could be out doing photo shoots for clients and making money. We don't want to be too bogged down by all this stuff. So I think that can be a little bit overwhelming. There's all these different systems we're talking about, and it's kind of like chaotic and crazy for people. All the stuff we've talked about so far, we've talked about constant contact and everything. Could you talk a little bit about the CRMs? Because I know that, you know, you're a big believer in using something that's all integrated, like Go High Level. Can you talk a little bit about that and like why you feel like it's valuable to have an integrated CRM that's going to like really maximize the experience for the for somebody like a photographer that's a small business?
Right. So, yeah, the whole purpose of just kind of having just those all-in-one platforms, especially like having a CRM like Go High Level, which I think is a great platform. I mean, we use it a lot for just our business, what me and Kevin are doing. When you have those types of platforms, you're able just to really further organize things. And going back to it, Kevin, I know you have the budget to be able to afford a marketing director and afford hundreds of $1,000s that you can allocate towards your marketing on a month-to-month basis. But a lot of these photographers, they don't. You know, a lot of them have to reinvest it back into their art, reinvest it back into themselves, you know, cover their own expenses, which is completely reasonable. But if you kind of have like one platform that does everything for you, you're able to allow for yourself to be kind of like a one-man army. You know, you don't spread yourself too thin. You're able to centralize everything, and you're able to kind of just be able to leverage that where it seems like you have a 5 to 10 person team, but it's just you using the right tools. So with Go High Level, we use it for a lot of the, a lot of the clients that Kevin wants to be able to work with. So we manage and keep track of those different clients, but also along with that, it has like a built-in phone system and text messaging system as well that we're able to utilize. So we're able to keep track of that. We're also able to manage and leverage both the email marketing, but also the text messaging and even the social media features on that platform as well. So the more platforms you're able to allow for you just to do more than just a single function on it, I think you need to look more towards that, especially if you're just kind of just a one-man person or a one-person photographer. Look to those types of tools just to really help you out, because you'd be surprised by how many photographers or just creatives in general that are held back because they don't have the right systems in place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how much have you been able to integrate AI into kind of the stuff that you've done with marketing?
Yeah, I utilize AI just on a day-to-day basis. You know, I use it for everything. I don't 100% rely on it, but I use AI with just what my own personal touch as well. So, like for example, I use AI for content creation. I use AI just to make sure my copy's good. I use AI for just creative thinking, like ChatGPT. I know Kevin talks about it, but I have the premium account for ChatGPT because it actually is way more advanced than just the basic free account that they have. So I use that for a lot of brainstorming sessions. I'm not just putting out there, hey, create an email blast that I can send out to people. I draft up an initial idea, I insert it into ChatGPT, it spits out a result, I edit it, revise it, input it in again like 2, 3 more times. And then once I'm satisfied, okay, cool, this is what we're going to work with. And then I use that just to make sure that everything is good grammatically. I also use Opus. Opus is another great platform. So I use that just to create clips and content. And when it comes to creating content, especially if you're repurposing longer form videos, like for example, let's say you shoot a 15 to 20 minute, or Kevin, he shoots these amazing 1.5 to 2 hour long webinars. You don't want to go through all that content yourself and just, mark it up, clip it and say, okay, I'm going to edit this portion. What's great about Opus is that it's a really affordable platform where you're able to insert whatever video into it. And I would recommend more so inserting a video with you talking over it more so than just video, just strictly video. As soon as you insert the video, what's going to do is the AI is actually going to generate a whole bunch of clips. And the great thing about it is that it's going to rank the clips based on how likely it is to go viral. And it's really accurate. It's going to save you a lot of money because just to submit like a 1 hour to 2 hour long video is just probably going to cost you about like $15 just to get 30 to 40 clips. And that's great because that's pretty much like a month long worth of content.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a really great use of AI, especially for photographers that don't want to learn video editing. So it's because video editing is a little bit of an intense thing for photographers to learn, and, incorporating something like this that kind of simplifies it, picks out the best clips, puts it all together, puts the type, the text over it. And this is really useful. And also you guys notice just on the little screen that's playing, it puts it into different formats. So you've got the horizontal, puts it in vertical, puts it in square, puts it in all these different things. You can use it for your phone, you can for your laptop, all these different things, which I love that. I think that's a great strategy, Sebastian. Brilliant to use that. So Sebastian's as a marketing director, using AI on a daily basis. I think that's awesome. And I think that you guys probably should start doing that too. But he also mentioned something really specific. He said that I do it with a human touch. And that's what I've noticed. If you do it with a human touch, you can make it sing. But if you rely too much on it, it's going to not work so well for you.
Right. Yeah, that's the ultimate thing, Don't fully rely on AI just to run your business for you. I don't think we're at that point yet, maybe 10, 15 years from now. But at the same time, even when we do get to that point, at the same time, once again, we're humans. We notice these things. We know if something's just, digitally manufactured, so we want to make sure that we add our own personality to it. We add our personal touch to it, because that's what's going to allow for us to stand out. We are not going on YouTube or TikTok to watch robots. As soon as I hear some sort of robotic voice on a video or something, I'm clicking out of it. I want to hear Kevin. I want to hear Alex Hormozi. I want to hear all these people because I fell in love with them, their content, their style, and just, whatever they're providing whatever value they're providing to me through their content, because we feel like we resonate with these people. And you want to make sure that you provide that same level of that same level of just what you can do for the people that you're trying to ideally target as well. So I think that's the most important thing. So don't be afraid of that, guys. Be consistent. Understand that this is a super competitive market, but make sure you have the right tools in place just to really help you stand out. And just, if you need help, just understand that we're here to help you all the time. Whether it's Kevin, myself, any of our experts. So definitely leverage just being able to schedule a one-on-one call as well. Because a lot of people within the industry, whether it's photography, music, or any other space that is creatives, they don't know about these things. And even if they know about them, they don't know how to use it right. But we do.
Exactly. And, something like AI, this is a really great platform where it's very like, it kind of tracks the design. It basically creates designs for you for ads, but yet targets the design, not just graphically to make it pretty, but it also does it based upon conversion rates. So it actually ties it to conversion rates, which is really interesting because that's really what it all comes down to. So if you are going to be doing, like, for instance, for the consumer industry, and I don't really recommend this so much for the commercial industry. Like, I don't really recommend for commercial photographers and directors to use a bunch of paid ads or anything like that. But I do recommend it for some specific consumer photography, wedding photographers, portrait photographers and stuff. Doing some paid ads can be useful. If we're going to do that, though, using something like AdCreative.ai, using it to basically take your photographs that you have and the messaging that you have and and basically some of the copy, and it helps you put together a AI generated ad that also can increase your essentially your performance of the ROI and the conversions. And I think that that's a really brilliant thing, because oftentimes we might create an ad or a promotion that we think is interesting, but it might not really convert. And really what it's all comes down to is conversion, because you want to get the most out of your the cost that you're spending and you're investing. Really, that's what it comes down to, right? It's all about that investment and how much you can get from it. So, and Sebastian, have you used this platform much?
I haven't gotten a chance to use it yet, but I see the ads all the time. So I actually plan on using it sometime. So don't be surprised if you see a few ads coming out from that.
Because what I like about this is that, like, instead of having to always hire like graphic designers to do it, or try to do it, fumble around to do it ourselves, we can have them, auto generate ads that look really clean and beautiful with our photography in it, but putting it together with, your logo, your messaging and everything like that. And then it also formats it into the right different formats of the different ads on the different platforms. So I think I personally really like this one. And because, you know what, guys, I'm a photographer. I'm not a graphic designer. They're two very different things. And and to understand graphic design and use Illustrator and stuff, it's a lot more complicated for a photographer to kind of like think beyond their photography and start thinking about ad design. And there's very, 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 very few photographers I've ever met who are good at both. So oftentimes, we struggle with this, and something I personally do. So I love an AI tool like AdCreative.ai, because it's going to create those promotions that we can use to deliver better conversion rates. I think it's really, really useful. Okay, so thank you so much, Sebastian. And I've got some more panelists I want to bring on, but are there any other strategies that using AI or using some marketing techniques that you've employed that you feel could really be useful to our audience, to our photographers that want to market themselves to the next level?
Yeah. So just final things. Just consistency is key. Once again, we're just going to continuously bring this up. Consistency is key. Not every single post is going to be a home run, but I mean, over time, things will add up. You will see things pay off over time, because ultimately you want to create a system where just as soon as someone sees one piece of your content, they're going down the rabbit hole and they're going through your profile and they want to learn more about you. So focus more so on that, focus on the long-term vision instead of just the day-to-day results, because, some posts with Kevin, he's going to have posts that just are a complete home run, but some posts, they're not going to hit, but you have to be fine with that and don't let that get to your head. Secondly, once again, just further learn how you can sell yourself as a person. I know a lot of photographers, they're scared about sales or they get icky about the word sales, but everything's sales, and marketing is sales as well. Marketing's more so selling yourself to just a broad audience. So don't be afraid to sell yourself. We're all different people. We all have our unique qualities. We all have our specific interests, and people want to know that. People want to work with those type of people that they feel like they can connect with. So don't be afraid to do that. The type of work that you do, the big clients you work with, that's amazing. But at the same time, people want to see personalities. I've seen photographers with a fraction of the just portfolio get major opportunities just because they have the view count or they just have the following and they have the community. And just lastly, just always just trying to learn up on new things. There's always something new that's coming out, but just find that balance between just having a system that works for you, that has been working for you, but at the same time, just see as to how that can make your life easier, because that's going to be the ultimate thing. In the next 5 to 10 years, it seems like we're just moving towards a life or a future where essentially we don't need to have 15, 20, 30 person teams in order for us just to run 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure businesses. These tools that we have in place, whether it's with AI or just any existing software, we can actually leverage these platforms in order for us just to be more lean and just actually have a more compact company. So don't be afraid to educate yourself. There's a lot of great things happen. Don't be afraid of the future. Don't be afraid of AI, but see as to how it can make you better. But that's all I have, Kevin.
Fabulous. Well, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Sebastian. You're such a rock star, and I love having you on my team because Sebastian also, I mean, he's a great guy, but he also understands marketing in depth, knows what he's doing, and can definitely take it up a notch with everything I'm doing, because I've gotten very far on my own and I've been able to do this stuff. But I also think that if you are thinking about bringing on somebody like that, and you have the budget for it, that's great and all, but don't just do that without fully understanding and having it successfully done yourself. I think in any type of business, you need to be able to understand and do these things yourself first before you hire somebody to do it for you. I would say the same thing for photographers when it comes to retouching. I would never hire a retoucher to do it all for you if you don't fully understand retouching yourself. You got to master it first, and you've got to be super, super good at it to understand how to make your images amazing before you put it in the hands of somebody else, and then they have to do it and try to match your quality. Instead, oftentimes I see photographers, they don't want to waste their time retouching, so they hire somebody to do it, and then they end up with crappy images because that retoucher didn't really do it right, and then that photographer didn't really understand how to get it done right from the retoucher and explain it. So for me, for instance, I do hire retouchers, but for me, I also I have such an in-depth understanding of retouching that I make sure that retouching needs to be adjusted if that retoucher doesn't make it perfect. And it's the same thing with marketing. If you don't fully understand marketing and you just put it in the hands of somebody else, you're going to have a big problem. You need to understand it, and you need to do it yourself, have some successes yourself. And then when you get to the point where you can hire somebody like I can, then you can basically pass off some of that time and energy over to that other person to try to take it off your plate. And that's the kind of place where I'm at. I fully understand how to do it. Now, of course, Sebastian, he's even more of an expert and he can take it up a notch, but I do understand marketing in depth already. And I think that you need to as well. That's why you guys are on right now. So it's really, really critical. And all these AI tools, a lot of them are either free. Most of them have free versions. Some of them have paid versions that are not that much. They're very useful, guys, and I would definitely recommend them. I mean, some of them, especially the one we just talked about, AdCreative.ai, very, very, very strong for any sort of design with doing stuff for email marketing or for graphic design. I mean, it saves you so much energy and time, and also money when it comes to having to hire designers to do it or trying to do it ourselves, because most photographers can't. So that's fantastic. All right, guys. So I know we've been on here for a while. This has been a very intensive experience so far. We've also had incredible panelists, but I also want to give you guys a break. So we've been, pretty much going nonstop for the last, 3.5 hours. So I want to give you guys a break, and then I'm gonna have you jump back on so that we can continue on. And we've got another amazing panelist to come on, as well as some incredible, I want to do reviews of your sites and then go over some more additional fantastic experiences with marketing. So I want you guys to go ahead and pop off, take a break, and then basically rejoin this link at, I'm gonna give you guys 45 minutes to grab some food, have lunch, relax, and take a break, because I know it's a lot of time staring at your screen. So like right now, it's approximately 3:30 Eastern time, 12:30 Pacific time. So let's rejoin at 1:15 Pacific time. So at 1:15 Pacific time or 4:15 Eastern Standard Time, and jump back on the same link, and then we'll rejoin, and then we have this incredible illustrious panelist who's going to be joining us, and I'm super, super excited. So make sure to be on time and rejoin us at 1:15 Pacific time. So, all right, guys, I'll see you soon. Jump on the same link, and we have a lot more to come. So, so good to have you guys, and we'll talk to you guys soon.